Hello everyone, and this is my review for WWE Smackdown on November 8th, 2016. And well, they start off the show kind of the same way they started off Monday Night Raw, which was with a promo based around the entire Survivor Series team. This eventually led to Shane McMahon coming out and making a tag match for later on in the evening. But let's go through the promo. AJ starts off the promo. This eventually does bring out Dean Ambrose and the rest of the Survivor Series team to talk about, to basically cut on everything. And it was interesting to see, like, initially it was like they were playing it off as like Dean Ambrose was fully outnumbered, which he was because of the Wyatts being out there and everything. And also, interesting note, Orton's actually coming out with the Wyatts now. So they're making it feel like that he's actually a part of the Wyatt family at this point, with the exception of the fact that he still wears RKO stuff and doesn't have a thicker beard yet. Maybe he needs to get a little bit thicker of a beard to fully make it believable. But for the most part, this is the same thing as Raw. It looked like they were going to have the Wyatts and Baron Corbin and AJ attack Dean and James Ellsworth, and eventually Baron Corbin just like books off. Like he doesn't care, he's always about himself. So he played up to his character. He's a lone wolf and everything in that sense. So it did play off really well to that side of everything. When Shane comes out there, they make James Ellsworth the team mascot, and then he also makes a six-man for later on the night that was supposed to be Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, and Dean Ambrose, Baron Corbin, and James Ellsworth against the new Wyatt family. They're calling them the new Wyatt family. Like, it makes it feel like they're going to be playing off of this for a while instead of just like a short stint, at least for the time being. But right afterwards, Baron Corbin was backstage. Shane confronts him and is like, "Hey, just making sure you know about the six-man." He's like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that." And it's like, oh. Okay, and I even like the aspect of Baron Corbin teasing the aspect that they needed him on the team more than he needs to be on the team himself. So he feels like he has the power in this sense. So Shane does take him out of the six-man, but puts him up against Kalisto later on in the night. Again, good character development off of this for Baron Corbin. We'll talk about what they decide to do with him a little bit later on, and where they go with it afterwards as well. I'll talk about that here in a few moments. Because up next they have Breezango going up against the Von Villains, and the winner was going to be a part of the 10-man tag match at the at Survivor Series. Breezango goes over really quickly here. Like, this match was like no tension at all. Matter of fact, you can almost say that about most of the matches of the night, with the exception of Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch, which was probably their best match of the evening. Like, that was pretty much the best match of the evening, at least in my own personal opinion. I'll talk about that match a little bit later on. But like I said, in this match, like, Breezango's starting off with a new gimmick. Apparently, they're playing the Fashion Police, and they give like JBL a fashion ticket or something in that sense for not looking good because he was wearing a kilt and everything. Oh, and speaking of which, speaking of the announcers table, for some odd reason, they had 4 people at the announcers table. You have Morrow, JBL, and David Otunga, but you also had Tom Phillips. Really weird. Really weird. It makes you wonder if they're going to be replacing somebody, maybe Otunga, maybe Morrow. I don't know who they're planning on replacing with Tom Phillips on the announcers table, but you would go with the assumption that's what they're trying to do here down the road. He doesn't stay out there for the whole night, but he was there for a portion of the evening, which just made it feel very weird in the end. Just very weird on that side of everything. You had Naomi going up against Natalya. Naomi wins after Carmella comes out and starts distracting everything with Nikki Bella being on commentary. And of course, Natalya's trying to play coach, and she even has a whistle now, which didn't work, by the way. They got a whistle that did not work for her, while she was out there. And that causes the distraction. And when she goes back into the ring to focus on Naomi, Naomi rolls her up, gets the victory. Not really much tension building in that sense. Though you're playing off of the same aspect that you are on Raw in most of these cases with the teams, that they are not a cohesive unit in any way, shape, or form, especially with the women's side and with the men's side as well, because you had loners and the aspect of the Wyatt family probably just doing whatever they want to do. I'm still going to refer to the Wyatt family as Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt, because I kind of refuse to put Randy Orton in the Wyatt family. It still feels a little weird on that sense. That, like, they don't need to go like full Wyatt family guard for him, like where he has come out in overalls or anything like that, but they need to change him up a little bit somewhere to make sure that he actually feels part of the Wyatt family, especially with the aspect of him coming out with them now. It just feels really weird on that side. So up next, they had Dean Ambrose and James Ellsworth. They were cutting a promo. Daniel Bryan cuts in and says he has found them a new tag team partner. And lo and behold, it's your friendly, lovable demon from everywhere, demon from down under, Kane. And by down under, I mean hell. It was Kane. So Kane's going to join them. They throw an aspect of what was the game plan. Like, James Ellsworth asks, like, so what's the game plan? And Kane just looks at him and is like, don't tag in. And that was the only game plan for them at the point in time. Pretty interesting way of going. So up next, they had Baron Corbin. Well, it was supposed to be Baron Corbin versus Kalisto, but Baron Corbin attacks Kalisto right off the bat, and they brawl to the outside. And as Baron Corbin's going to the outside, he's walking on the ring apron and apparently forgets how to do so and trips and hurts his knee. And the aspect afterwards is that he had hurt his knee. Kalisto also attacks him and does a frog splash after being attacked himself to that injured knee. And now Baron Corbin's going to be off of the Survivor Series team, so they have another backstage segment talking about. It's good build because you have a couple of segments here and there that don't take too long on the show to go along with it. It was like Shane McMahon tells Daniel Bryan, like, take a look at the roster, just name whomever you want to be a part of the team. You even have some time where while Daniel Bryan's doing this, you get the Miz in there and Maurice, where they're doing this aspect that Maurice is talking for the Miz, where Miz whispers something into her ear and then she repeats it, so now he's not talking to anyone. It's only Maurice communicating for the Miz at this point in time. I kind of like the aspect of that. This is where they announce, in these segments they announce a bunch of different things. For one, they talk about the 900th episode of SmackDown with Undertaker showing up. The Cutting Edge talk show is going to come back. And they also announced that at Survivor Series, Kalisto's going to go up against the Brian Kendrick. And this is pretty much the highest stakes that they have between Raw and SmackDown now at Survivor Series, where if Kalisto wins the Cruiserweight title, the entire Cruiserweight division comes over to SmackDown. And it makes you think and wonder if they're going to actually do something like this because of that 205 live show that's coming up on Tuesday nights that's supposed to air after SmackDown. So it makes you wonder whether or not they're going to stay on Raw or not. My assumption is that they would stay on Raw and then they show up for the 205 live. But it does make an intriguing idea that maybe they're switching the Cruiserweights over to SmackDown because of 205 Live that's coming out on November 29th when they start doing those shows. So it does leave a very interesting aspect on that side of everything. And the one last thing that they announced is Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz for the Intercontinental title on the 900th episode of SmackDown. This is to play off of the aspect that it's good. It's actual good writing, and it keeps the cohesiveness that Miz gets a guaranteed title shot after losing. And there's a chance that the title could be on Raw, and since he's on SmackDown, he wouldn't be able to get that if Sami Zayn were to beat Dolph Ziggler. So it kind of keeps to that. But I also like the aspect that Miz doesn't like the fact that he has to wrestle him next week because it's not on his terms. Because he only wants to do things on his terms no matter what, and it plays off really well. I kind of liked what they were doing with that. And everything to go along with it. But, yeah, for the most part here, before I talk into the last two portions of the show, you also had Apollo Crews going up against Kurt Hawkins. Kurt Hawkins wins in a really quick manner. And they're playing off the aspect that, like with what happened with Kurt Hawkins a couple weeks ago with Apollo Crews, and the fact that last week's match was only like 4 seconds. Like, Kurt Hawkins was even saying, it's like, oh, I haven't debuted yet. So now he's talking. So now he technically, probably in his mind, has debuted because he won against Apollo Crews tonight, in that sense. But again, it was a really quick match, and it wasn't much of anything to it in any way, shape, or form. No real consequence or anything in that sense. So this is going to bring us to the two final matches of the night. The first one being Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch. First of all, they built this as the main event the entire night, yet it didn't go on last. I guess, you could technically put the main event on at any given time, and because it's the one that was the most build for the show, so that's technically your main event. So, in technical aspects, yeah, you can still put it on at any time that you want, but most people resonate the main event of the show being the last thing you see. So the factor that they're calling it the main event and it doesn't appear last makes people's like, well, technically it's not the main event because you didn't put it on last. But it was the most built match going into the show. Pretty good match from both sides. I like the aspect that they were playing off that Alexa Bliss was very dominant throughout the entire match, made her look good. And then they were playing off a little bit of controversy at the end playing off the controversy that Alexa Bliss's foot was on the rope during the disarmor submission when she tapped out. And it will probably lead into another match somewhere down the line. They even kind of mention a little bit of it on Talking Smack to go along with that. And you even have if you want to go with other Talking Smack stuff, you also had Miz and Maurice show up back on there, still doing the same bit where Maurice is doing all the talking, Miz is doing none of it in any way. And they even tease a potential trade to Raw for the Miz somewhere down the line here. So we'll see where they go with everything. So this leads into the main event of the night, which was the Wyatt family and Randy Orton. I'm still going to refer to it as that because I'm not going to refer to it as the new Wyatt family until they make Randy Orton look like he's in the Wyatt family in some way, shape, or form. Going up against James Ellsworth, Dean Ambrose, and Kane. Not a bad match here. The Wyatts and Orton win after Ellsworth actually tags in, where he was the only one there. So he tags Dean Ambrose, though technically he wasn't holding the tag rope. So if you went by the rules, forget kayfabe. In that case, if you go by the rules, he wasn't technically legal, but kayfabe, he's legal, whatever. It's like, he's legal, whatever, in that sense. Gets hit with Sister Abigail in one move and loses the match. As it looks like they were going to beat down Dean Ambrose even more afterwards, Shane McMahon comes out to calm everybody down and everything in that sense. And this is where Daniel Bryan comes out. He says who the new team member was. And it was like he even teases it him being him, but he goes like, but we all know that I can't do that because of concussion and everything. And then he says he wants Shane McMahon to be the 5th team member. Okay. It really doesn't make full sense there, though. The scene afterwards where the entire crowd's chanting yes, 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 and then eventually Shane goes, he doesn't say a word, he just points up in the air, and it makes you assume that he's accepting that spot. to be on the team. But really, do they really? Why Shane? I guess you could have picked someone else in there to be a part of the team. In that case, you could have put Kane in there. I mean, it wouldn't have been as probably cool in the sense of the crowd reaction if you put Kane in there in any way, shape, or form like that. But like, if you're even thinking storyline wise in terms of competition, Shane really doesn't match up against any of those guys on Raw all that well, especially into that sense. So the storyline is the competition between Raw and SmackDown. So you want the best competitors. Shane doesn't fall under that boat in any way, shape, or form. So it doesn't fully make sense to put Shane in that match. Now, they can write themselves out of this if they want to. Don't know if they actually will, but we'll see where they go with it. I didn't particularly like that one in any way, shape, or form. Now, but with that being said, the overall show, matches, like I said, were inconsequential for the most part, outside of Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss. I thought that was a really good match between them. But storyline-wise, they built themselves up decently going into the pay-per-view on both sides. You had a bit of the Raw stuff where you had tension between all the teams, with the exception of the 10-man team that they're setting up. You didn't really get any tension from that one. Like, outside of, like, all the other teams, like the other 5 teams that we've seen, we haven't seen much with the entire group of those tag teams being together and any potential tension between them, because over the last couple weeks they've been just doing qualifying matches. That's how you got it, in qualifying matches and everything in that sense. So they really haven't built anything off of that. So we'll see if they do anything with that to begin with. See where they go with the women's side of everything. Like you weren't getting as long segments with these as you were on Raw, and you didn't even get a full promo with the women. It was an aspect of the tension was built between Carmella and Nikki Bella and Natalya with the outside portion during that match, and that's where a lot of it came from. And it just felt a little bit better in this case. It may be because it was in such smaller doses versus how long some of those segments went on Raw, which I didn't mind it, because the aspect was they were building story going into the Survivor Series. That's why I said I actually liked Raw, because they were building the storylines between the teams going into the Survivor Series, and then did that again here to go along with it. And then you end it with the aspect of Shane being in there. Sure, the crowd popped huge. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but I'm not going to say that it made the show bad in any way, shape, or form. I thought it came off rather well tonight with SmackDown overall. So with that being said, that is my review this week for WWE Smackdown. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day.